They say you learn a lot from mistakes, and I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Because
Makes you learn quicker, but it is something.
yeah, no, we
Better,
don't. We're
no, you got to.
thick-headed, man.
We're
Outdoor
determined.
service people are thick-headed as hell.
Oh yeah.
All aboard!
Outdoor
Cheering for you.
service owners, rise and shine. It's time to start fueling your success one adventure at a time. Welcome to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur, brought to you by House Call Pro, where business owners explore ways to take charge and level up. We are your hosts. I am Kevin Fontaine, and this is mi amigo, Patrick Harders. Join us on this journey every Wednesday. Like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel, and listen to wherever you get your podcast, and follow us on our social media platforms at Outdoorsy Boss. Patrick, our first episode, what is going on?
This is exciting. This is a fun topic. I love discussing this. Early on when I was young, 19 years old, I heard a guy give me some advice, and it was basically like, I've been rich, I've been poor. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it does solve a lot of problems. So,
Yeah,
we've been in business a long time,
yeah,
and we've
too
had
long.
years that make money and some years that don't. So, we want to really
Exactly.
focus on how do we actually make money doing what we're doing.
Exactly. We're so excited to be sharing our knowledge. We also want to learn from you guys listening and commenting.
And what's exciting is being able to make money. I had a friend talk about this under the radar. A lot of times you think you do the college route, you go to work for a large corporation, and we've done it different. And
Right.
it's nice to be able to show up to the bank in boots and dirty jeans and everything like that. And when you have some money in your account, and they treat you totally differently at the bank when you actually have money in the account. And so
They do.
we want to make sure that we're building our wealth, because a lot of us just get into this because we love being outdoors, we love the craft that we have, what we do. But how do you go about actually making certain you're making money and not playing that Russian
Okay.
roulette at the end of the year? I want to look at structure of like how we're pricing our jobs out, and how are we coming up with pricing. And I think so
Right.
often we just pick a number, or we look at what our competitors are doing and we say, hey, we're somewhere in that range. But
Right.
we wouldn't trust our competitors to most life decisions. And you got to think, like, what's more
Right.
important in your business than the price you're charging and the profitability of your company?
Exactly. Yeah. And you don't want to tie your business onto some competitor's business, because you guys are A and B night and day.
Totally different. And if you're not charging the right amount, then it's hurting yourself, it's hurting your family. And one of the things we don't think about is the growth of our employees. Someone's going
Okay.
to break their back for us. If they have no opportunity to grow and move up in the company, then it's very limiting. So it's a
Right.
duty that we have, is to be financially secure in our business.
No doubt. No doubt.
And you've done
Yeah,
some
that
great
sounds good.
things in your business, Kevin.
Yeah. I mean, first starting out, we have no idea what to charge, right? So we just listen to what other people are charging and say, oh, yeah, I'll do it for that. Or we race to the bottom with
Yeah.
clients that say, I got someone that does it for 45 each. Can you do it for that? And you just say, yeah, just to get the business. So over time, I've been able to adapt consultants and
Mhm.
pay for all kinds of programs over the years. And we've started to implement more and more processes, procedures, structure, et cetera. And that's really helped short up that question that I've always had about this, that, or the other
Mhm.
in regards to anything, as a business owner faces, what to charge is a big one each time.
Yeah, I remember I came out of the franchise world, and you'd think there's 83 franchises that I was with. And I asked a simple question, like, how much should we be charging for our systems?
Uh-huh.
And they came back and they're like, we have no idea. And I was like, you would
Oof.
think with that kind of background and that many people and high level,
Right.
very educated people, that there'd be some kind of answer, but it was all over the
Right.
place. And so there wasn't a great
Golly.
answer.
What did you do there? Did you just wing it, or did you
I lost
adapt a little
money.
bit? You lost money. Yeah,
Yeah. You'd
that
go to
too.
the end of the year, and you'd turn on all your paperwork to your accountant, and you go like, how'd I do this year? Which is just mind baffling to go like, how
And that
did
was
I
a
do this year?
franchisee model.
That was a franchisee model. So
Okay.
they were concerned about sales. It was like, hey, like, you
Yeah.
got trophies for sales, but nobody got a trophy for like, hey, what did you actually put in your bank account?
Exactly. Here's some pamphlets. Here's some door hangers. Here's what to say in front of a
Yep.
customer. and
And
here's
it's
some
our
product.
egos. We have
Yeah.
egos that we want to get every job. We want to be the best at what we do. And like probably the number one thing you look at is your overall sales. But if you're losing money on every job or you're losing money
Yeah.
on some big jobs, that just crushes you. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what I want to avoid, get those pitfalls out of the way and learn from the mistakes you and
Yeah,
I have done over the years.
no doubt. And it's valuable lessons learned. They say you learn a lot from mistakes, and I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
Because,
Makes you learn quicker, but it is something like,
yeah, no, we
I don't
don't. We're
know. You got
thick-headed, man.
to, we're
Outdoor
determined.
service people are thick-headed as hell.
Oh, yeah. I'm
We're
going to make this
stupid.
work. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm
Keep
still learning.
banging,
Like,
banging, banging.
I haven't arrived on all points that I'd like to. I keep going like, oh, that was a mistake last year. And there's always things that come up that you're not expecting. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, let
always
me
learning.
go over, sounds good. Let me go over a slide I have
Mhm.
where someone can look and kind of develop their own pricing. Okay. This is just a scenario we'll run here. And for one, let's capture overhead, right? So you got indirect overhead, indirect overhead. Here's
Mhm.
some of the indirect overhead that's pretty common in small businesses. Rent, utilities, tax on the building, insurance on that building, or its contents. This is all over the board. Maybe you're starting out. You may not have any warehouse or shop. You're just running out of a garage. That's
Yeah.
totally fine because this can be a big fat zero, which is great for your books and great for your profit.
It is,
Um,
but I do think you have to like build that into your future cost too, because a lot of
okay.
times we're short sighted and we go like, hey, I have no rent because I'm using my home, I have my garage, I have a shed in back,
Yep.
all those expenses. But as you start growing, those start coming in. And I've
Yeah.
had
And
those years where
yeah.
you shock all your customers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So as you go along as a small, operator, then you start adding employees, et cetera. You're going to want to put in cost for a building or some kind
Yeah.
of office, warehouse,
Yeah. And
or
if you're real
storage unit.
smart, you plan it. Yeah. You plan it out
Yeah.
ahead of
Plan
time.
it
You
out.
go, I'm going to have these costs, so I might as well make a little bit more money now so I could fund that stuff in the future and pay for it, not stress out that you need to, move out of the house or get an office or do those things and not be prepared for it.
Yeah. Or they come by late on a Sunday.
Uh,
Hey, I need to pick up my check.
yeah.
Oh
Friday night
God.
at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's no
We've done that.
bueno.
No.
But yeah, definitely build in costs for future growth. And that's another spreadsheet you guys can develop um, to plan and do future growth. Next is fuel. That's
Hmm.
a big one. We all use fuel. It's a monster,
Yeah.
um, especially my landscaping company devour fuel. God, the trucks and all that equipment, the mowers, and talk
If
about a fuel bill.
I tried getting away from that, I put my designers in electric cars going like, oh, I'm going to save so much money. But
Uh-huh.
they'd end up going to these charging stations for $50, $60 and 2 hours to charge, hour to charge.
Wow.
And I was like, well, we got rid of that in 1 year.
So electric, is it fairly expensive or it just takes a lot of time
It
to
can be both.
charge?
Yeah, like, you don't think of it, I think of it as being free because, like, we bought these little Leafs and they're like, "Hey, it's free charging anytime you come here," but when they're out an hour away and there's one charging station and it's $50
Right.
to charge for an hour, there
Wow.
goes my fuel savings disappeared quickly.
Big time.
Yeah,
And so you're going to have some tools in your overhead, tool replenishment,
yeah.
breaking tools, etc., shovels, it doesn't matter. You may have an equipment loan. Say you get a new mower or a new power washer
Mhm.
or a wire digger for a lighting company,
A lift.
anything, a lift.
Mhm.
So many things you may have a loan for there. That's in your indirect overhead because you can't tie this to a specific job. That's
Yeah,
what indirect means. Vehicle loan, uh, it's insurance, it's taxes each year. If you got the maintenance on that, any repairs, you've got in company insurance, your general liability. And if you're over in my state in North Carolina, if you're over 3 employees, you have to get workman's comp.
mhm.
But if you're under, you don't have to have it. So that's a cost you may want to incorporate.
Yeah,
Um, Health insurance, that's another optional based on your scenario. You may want to put in your own health insurance and deduct it that way for a write-off, owning your own business, run that through your company.
Yeah, and you get
Um,
away with it a lot of times if you have like 25-year-olds that don't care about it. But the
oh
minute you
yeah,
start getting into like guys that are getting a little bit older and have families, like they want
yeah,
insurance.
yeah. Young guys, they don't care.
Yeah,
Um, Banking fees, credit card fees, etc. You got to have that in your overhead.
that's a
Um,
big
o-
one that sneaks up on you.
yeah, offline marketing. That's your yard signs, your brochures, your door hangers, your whatever gifts you're giving out for referral rewards, etc. So that's all that kind of marketing. Online marketing costs, websites, domain, emails, Google ads, Facebook,
Hmm.
wherever you're trying to market, direct mail, different things. Software, uh, building up your automations is important in our business.
Yeah.
So routing software, QuickBooks, what's some other billing
The CRMs can
platforms?
be,
Okay.
we've gone all over the place on CRMs, and some are
Yeah.
very inexpensive and very good, and some are really, really expensive. And you get into Salesforce, and you're talking
Oh wow.
40, $50,000 a year on it. And
No
but
doubt.
there's some that they get up there in cost. That's one thing. A lot of times you talk to people and you say like, "What's your CRM?" And their biggest response you hear back is QuickBooks. You're like, "That's not
Yeah.
your CRM. That's your accounting package that
Right.
shows you what a customer bought, but you're not tracking and communicating anything in the future."
Exactly. I know they're rolling out more and more things with QuickBooks. They have like a contractor edition that has a bunch of
Hmm.
add-ons, but I like more streamlined
Yeah.
CRMs because they're just so much better at it. So you're going to have a lot of costs, not now, not when you're young and getting started out, but as you grow and start scaling, you're definitely going to want to incorporate more and more software because it just makes life so much easier. Um,
Well, I think the thing that we don't consider on that is like, the value in the business if we go to sell it one day is going to be that customer base. And if you don't
oh
have a
yeah,
good database and it's,
yeah,
hand notes or your memory, then there's nothing to sell.
yeah. And I like sending a monthly newsletter. That's an
Yeah.
easy, inexpensive thing. Um, so that's an option too for people looking. So next is future buys. Pat, you discussed this a little bit. Any future trucks, equipment, shop,
Hmm.
um, start saving now for the future.
Yeah.
So just like
We
an
got hit.
IRA.
Yeah, we got hit one year. Sorry to interrupt. We got hit one year and it was like four trucks all needed to be replaced at the same time. And I was like, it killed
Ooh,
me. Like, hadn't planned for it, didn't think about it. I was just like, I'm going to run these trucks into the ground. Never
right.
understood why some guys, like some companies, replace their trucks at 3 years or 60,000 miles and get new ones. I'm like,
Exactly.
what a waste of money. But then,
Yeah.
new transmissions and everything else add up too.
Yeah.
Downtime.
And the good thing about that is you can predict when to sell a truck or a
Hmm.
piece of equipment. They all have a lifespan that you can look up online. And we used to like to sell our stuff before it died, so it still had some value. So we would sell our trucks and whatnot after about 8 to 10 years,
Yeah.
and our equipment when it still had some life in it. So, all right. So uniforms, PPE, that personal protective equipment, safety supply, office supplies, printers, paper, yada, yada. And then you got, of course, anybody under payroll of indirect, that's going to be in there. Office staff, sales,
Yeah.
managers, owners.
Yeah. We're ultimately billing from, billable man hours and someone's answering the phone. They're not actually contributing any money. They're not
Right.
billable at all. So you got to,
That's right.
and eventually, we get to the point that we're no longer, a lot of times doing billable man hours because we're managing everything. So
That's right.
we
That's right.
become a drawdown from the company. But
That's right. That overhead goes up.
yep.
All right. Now we're going to go look at direct overhead. So, direct overhead is any production payroll, boots on the ground. Um, a lot of times, owners, early in your stage, you're definitely going to be working out in the field. So, you're going to be in
Yep.
direct overhead. Um,
Dragging
you
your
got,
kids and wife out.
yeah, helping you lift things.
Yeah.
Foremen, you got crewmen, technicians, etc. Other payroll that's tied to that client or to that job. Would be subcontractor, specific manager that has to just do that job or that client. Sales commissions can be in direct overhead, as well as bonuses and pay for performance. You got to add labor burden, the glorious labor burden. So that's your FICA FUTA SUTA, which in my area is about 16.65% of the base payroll charges. And then workman's comp, if that's something you have to implement. In my area, in my profession, which is landscaping and outdoor lighting companies, we're running about a 15% average on our workman's comp. And your average will go up and down based on claims. So if you have a really good claim record where you only get a couple bumps and bruises each year, it's going to stay nice and low. But if you start getting people going to the hospital, et cetera, that thing's going to jump.
Skyrocket.
And that is no bueno.
I was actually just talking to a guy today, and his employees, he tends to get a little cheaper on what he's paying his labored employees, but his insurance went up $180,000 this year on his auto insurance.
On the auto?
Yeah, he's like, I had no idea, but they got in a ton of accidents, like little bumps and dings.
Oh, yeah.
That'll kill you.
The mod.
Yep.
And then, of course, materials. Everybody uses those in your job, so that's a direct overhead cost. And then you've got equipment rentals that can be tied to a job, specific to a job. And then you got to take a dump, Pat. We all got to take a dump, take a pee-pee. So any porta potty that's on a job site specific, or a temporary office unit or storage unit. Yeah. All right, so let's run a scenario. Let's say we got one owner that works in the field and he's got 2 employees. So he is under the workman's comp radar in this case. Total overhead costs are, this is indirect and direct, is $258,000. A desired profit margin you want to put in there for your company to make. In this case, we're using 15%. You know, that can vary depending on how much you're trying to compete. Yeah. And in this case, 15% equals $38,700 because you're taking 15% of your total overhead. And now we're dealing with $296,700. Your billable hours available. So this is where, depending on where you live and your climate, and of course your trade, how many days per year can you actually work, and what does that mean in terms of hours? Yeah, you don't get the 2080 that you kind of think at the beginning of, like, oh, I'll get 40 hours a week, that's 2080. And then you start getting rainy days and days that the guys finish early and things like that. So yeah, that drops quite a bit. Yeah, because 52 weeks times 40 hours a week, that's 2080. So we did a realistic scenario being outside, and we get, you know, Virginia, where Pat lives, and North Carolina, where I live, we get a good amount of rainfall each year. So you're going to have rain days, you're going to have holidays, you're going to have paid leave. There's all kinds of things that aren't going to get you that 1,800 hour, you know, the 2080. Yeah. And I'll admit, I've pushed that, and I've lost employees on, it's 39 degrees and raining and we're working outside. That's always the day a guy who's like, oh, forget this. I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm sick. Yeah. My truck won't start. Yeah. I had a guy one time call. It's like, this is unsafe work conditions. I'm like, what are you going to melt? Like, you're fine. That's what coats are for. Yeah. Or it's, that's what. He was gone that week. Like, he left. Water's for. Yeah. Stay hydrated. You know, and so you want to do this, you want to have a realistic hourly output, because you don't want to put 2080 in your formulation, because then you're not going to recoup your cost by only working less hours. So be conservative with this. So we're putting 1,800 per man hours per year. 3 guys, that's 5,400 man hours that we can bill for. This makes an hourly rate of $55 per man hour that you need to charge. And how this gets there is overhead plus your profit divided by the total billable hours. Yeah. Do you think you send 2 guys out to do a quick job that has an hour drive there, hour drive back, and then they're there for 20 minutes, and you send a invoice for $95? Yeah. You've just lost money. Exactly. So it's Let's get into some of the varying job types. You've got one-off jobs where you just one and done. So you got small jobs and large jobs. Reoccurring service jobs. So you create a recurring event where you're going there every week, every month, whatever the scale is there. Subcontracted service where you subcontract a lot of the work and then you may manage that work. Or you may choose a consult design management service where you're not physically performing, but you're providing other elements to help the project. A good thing Pat just touched on, in-state minimum job pricing. So you're not stuck doing a half-hour job and only charging a half hour. So create minimum job pricing, and then another one's capture opportunity cost, where what's the travel involved? What's the loading involved? Do I get to have the products delivered? What's that going to take? And, what kind of man hours is going to be involved with that? So always have that in your quoting for that job. And then charge more for difficult customers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
So often our difficult customers are the ones that are paying the least amount because they complain on everything, and you end up going like, oh, I can't believe I agreed to this. So you're not happy. They're never happy.
No.
And it's like your great customers are the ones that say like, hey, here's a check, just come out whenever. You're happy to come out because you're getting paid good money for it. And it just changes the whole dynamic of your relationship.
I went to lighting repair at a $1 million house. She picked at everything I sent her for quotes. Oh, well, if I get it on Amazon, I can get something for 1/10 of your price. And I'm like, okay, do it. And then keep going from there. It's a race to the bottom with some customers. So protect yourself and have some sort of minimum pricing and being able to charge more if you find out, kind of get that wind that they're going to be really difficult. Or if it's a difficult job as well. You're on a hillside, putting in a retaining wall. Oh my gosh, think of that.
Yeah. I learned my lesson back in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1998. I got paid to sell light fixtures. So it was like $15 a light. Whatever I sold is what I got paid. And I sold one at the end of the driveway on a mailbox that had to trench like 2 sidewalks under a driveway through horrible ground. They spent 3-4 hours putting that one light in, and I just laughed. I'm like, I got $15. That's what I was being paid for. And my boss at the time was like, you're not getting paid. I'm not paying you anything on that job at all for selling that one. Which, and I look at it going like, of course. Why would you not charge a lot more for that?
Yeah. And we had the same things happen, and we put in a lot of verbiage in our contracts for unforeseen circumstance.
Yeah.
So there's some
and you
things
never like to do that. Like you never want to, you don't want to be the guy going like, hey, I totally missed this on this quote. And so you're going back for more money. But when there are work order changes and change orders on the job, you got to address that. But sometimes you do have to have that tough conversation. Like this is a job that wasn't bid out right.
Some other things, charging more if you're developing a niche. Say you're getting better and better at what you do, you're going to create a new niche to elevate yourself up from competition, which is the best thing you can ever do.
Yeah.
You can charge more for that. Quoting jobs in blocks of time, rounding up your jobs from 3 hours to a half day or a full day if it's just under 8 hours, and so on. If we go to the next slide, how do we further, now that you know what to charge, how can you protect that profit that's in there in your hourly wage? Well, then a great way to protect your profit is to standardize all your processes that are used often. Standardizing processes takes time and effort, so choose your most profitable processes and start standardizing those.
That's one thing you excel at. Like there's a lot of guys in this that I talk to every day. And that's one of the hardest things to do for them is to go through like, how do I get somebody else to do something because we just learned how to do it on our own.
Right.
Or we worked directly for someone. We weren't reading books and going through manuals on the standardized way. So,
man,
that's
I love it. I go nuts with it. I found a Army production rate binder.
Okay.
It was old, and I don't know how I came across it. It was back in 2008. But it had every functionality you could do outside under the sun. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
and the production times involved. So that got me started to like, how much linear feet does it take to prune a hedge that's 3 foot tall, to, lighting, how long does it take to install 10 ground lights?
Yeah.
So you run scenarios and build that into your quoting. All right, let's see. We got lump sum bids. So Pat, you're going through this a little bit, where customers are asking you to break down, what's your labor rate?
Yeah.
What's your parts? Get away from that, because you're going to race to the bottom if they catch you. It's not that you're hiding anything, but you want to put everything you can into one quote, a flat rate quote, a lump sum bid, because you're not going to ask them to pay more if the job goes over something you've quoted.
Yeah. And it's a very complicated question. As you look at this, like a $50,000 employee doesn't cost $50,000 to us. So it's like, what are you charging your labor rate? What are you charging for materials? It's like, how much do I want to break everything down and show everyone? And, I love what we were talking about earlier, just saying like, this is the price to do it. This is the price not to do it.
Have
Which
fun.
one would you prefer? Yeah. But, there are customers out there that they want all the details. And they, as I say, like, I want to compare apples to apples. And it's like, well, you're not, you know,
Exactly.
there's
And
no,
the
not the same.
binding, another way to protect yourself, we mentioned, is putting more verbiage, legal verbiage that's binding in a contract form. So people can't go back and say, hey, you only were out here 6 hours. I want you to reduce my invoice. If it's a contract set up for a one price sum. Say no to low. We touched on it a little bit already, but customers that pick at everything price-wise that you're due from the start, you meet them, get a sense of that, and just say no. It's just not worth it. Or people that want to do things lower than your minimums.
Definitely. That contract's important. I mean, that's what's going to cover you because, we just had one recently that we hit an irrigation system was 2 inches under the ground. It's supposed to be obviously much deeper.
Uh-huh.
We hit it, we fixed it, but there's a joint down 6 feet from where we hit it that came loose. And he lost 2,000 gallons of water or 20,000, whatever
Yeah.
it was. And he, sent us a $2,000 bill. And so it's like, there's all these different things to look at, but that contract's so important to have on your
Yeah.
proposal and them signing off like, hey, if you have irrigation, I want it marked. I want to
Yeah.
know where it's at, and we'll do our best. We'll fix it, but we're not responsible for everything that could possibly happen.
Right. There's some what ifs that
Yeah,
are up in the air. Now, comprehensive sales process is definitely going to help you protect your profit. Building in your value and having a complete sales process, filtering out leads so you can really get to your ideal client, right? So just as you're perfecting your craft, you're also going to protect or create your own ideal customer
yeah,
that you want to sell to. The ones that don't pick and five and dime you on everything, the ones that value your service, know why you're in business, why you do what you do, that you love, you have that passion, and they want the best of the best on their property. And those are your clients.
yeah. I think it's a good exercise to go like, who is not my customer, and to have
Yeah.
that set up right, just so you could start seeing red flags. Like, when
Yeah.
someone starts talking like I'm shopping online,
Yeah.
I could pick up some labor guys. My guys that I pick up at Home Depot or $25 an hour. What are you charging me? Like, you're not my
Exactly.
customer. Like,
No. Is create a common service price listing or a job listing. Hey, a typical 4,000 square foot of sod is X amount, or a typical 10 light system that looks like your house for the front, we last did for X, or lawn care apps. You can do a price list that's pretty much across the board based on a certain scenario that you can provide them over the phone or even put on your website. And that helps funnel down the clients that aren't a part of your plan.
yeah.
And it gives them a sense of what to expect as far as your pricing, even before you get on site.
So how are you adjusting for travel time? Because we find that, if a job is 2 minutes from the office,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be the same price as if it's an hour and a half from the office.
No, no, yeah. So you could have your price list there plus travel
Yeah.
based on per scenario. So
Yeah.
just to avoid that. And then also I filter out a lot of my tire kickers with charging. up front to come out to your place
Mm-hmm.
to look and see, whether that's landscaping, hardscaping, irrigation work, etc., lawn care, even outdoor lighting.
Charge for
We
designs. If you're
definitely
doing a
charge
patio
for
design.
designs. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's another chargeable. But charging for just that initial consult, hey, we can talk over the phone, no charge to you. I'll find out what you need, what you got going, maybe what your budget is, what our pricing generally ranges from, to get into their perspective. And then all the time, you really need to go measure. I don't like to use any of those online measuring tools.
Yeah.
It freaks me out because you can't see bushes under a tree. You can't see things that we have to account for. And I want to hand measure everything I do to be very precise. Plus, you want to show the customer everything, drop off your pamphlets, let them get to know you, and start building that relationship. We charge for that. We do give that charge back if they hire us for the work.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I've seen people do it both ways, so it's
yeah,
an interesting thing. But when you're new and nervous and
right.
you're running out to every job, the thing to always keep in mind is your customer can sense it. They sense fear. They sense all of that, like bees and dogs do. Same kind of thing. It's if you're running out there as quick as possible and you're panting and can't wait to get the job
Yeah.
because
They
you need
sense
it.
it. They
Yeah.
know it. They
Yep.
got you under their thumb. Yep. So that process, no matter if you could go out there in 10 minutes, they need to follow the same process as a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
You want to start building value with a process, and they feel a part of that, and
Yeah.
they sense it. Increase your profitability. Now that you're protecting it, all right, let's look at ways to potentially increase your profit. Well, you've scored a job, no matter if it's a one-off or recurring. Well, you can start having a la carte add-ons.
Hmm.
Hey, you're there doing lighting. Hey, how about, Mrs. Smith, some outdoor audio? Or, hey, Miss Smith, I saw the back gazebo could use some lights. We only priced the front. Man, that gazebo would look awesome. We could do it.
How do you control the lights? That's an easy one, like from the lighting standpoint. But
Yeah.
landscaping, there's so many things you could add on. Like if you're there to, if you're putting mulch down, to put pre-emergent down and to get into some of the other things that are going to be beneficial to them.
Yeah, for sure. So add-ons is a huge way. You've already got the client. You've already won the bid. Now let's start farming and increasing your profitability. So maintenance contract is another great way to add value to your bottom line because you've already spent the money to get that customer in your door. Now sell something that's going to be reoccurring to them.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sell it. Yeah. You're there every week, every month, whatever that schedule is. And now you never sell them again, only with updates and add-ons.
Yeah. When we go to sell our businesses, that reoccurring revenue, that can have multiple, add multiples to your final sale prices. How much
Okay.
reoccurring revenue do you have?
Nice. All right. SOPs. You
Hmm.
down with SOP? Yeah, you know me. Get some SOPs in your house. These are standard operating procedures. So this is where you take your best service and you standardize it, make it a process. This is going to increase efficiencies as your team keeps doing more and more of this same function. They're going to get better and better. And so that one's huge. Time trial. As you or your team goes out and does these jobs, mowing, power washing, throwing up a wall, throwing in lights,
Hmm.
time trial every facet that you can. And then you're going to do that in multiple stages. Say it's a small job, say the next one's medium, a large, you're going to do an average. And then now you're going to have really great data to start building your quoting sheets.
And it mentions bonuses there. It's so often we don't think of that for employees. Like,
Yeah.
how we pay them, they're ultimately going to look to how much get as much money as possible while they're working. So if it's like, if they get the most money by working slow, they're going to work slow. If they can get overtime, they're going to get overtime. And
Per hour.
yep, 4 years ago, we had 11 guys, and we paid so much in overtime with 11 guys. And the next year, we had 5 guys on a bonus structure, and they did more work than the 11 guys, and we had 0 overtime.
Yep.
So it's amazing when the incentives are put in there and they're done wisely, like what you can do in your business and what other people will do for you.
Yeah. Pay per performance. instead of just a flat wage per
Yeah.
hour. Yeah, that's huge. But you can hurt yourself on both sides of this fence.
Yep.
One side's pay for wage only, so they just get hourly, so they may if they're not managed well or trained well, or if your culture's not there, you're going to get the time clock milked, and they want overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other side of the fence is you're paying them for performance, so they're going to be more efficient, come in under budget, get paid more with a bonus, etc. But will they cut corners? So that's the other
Oh yeah.
issue that you need to manage as well.
Or you have things that come up where it's like, hey, this customer has a service call far away. Can you go knock that out? And they know there's really no bonus in it because it's, you can't charge that customer $600 to go out and change out a lamp or whatever.
Yeah,
So then they don't really want to do it, and then you get into all sorts of problems because they want the bonuses. So
no doubt.
it's always trying to come up with a system that works well and incentivizes the right behavior and not the wrong ones.
And next is like technology, software automations that
Mm-hmm.
can significantly increase profitability for you. Better equipment, improve your team with trainings and procedure, and then incentivizing your team, like Pat said, with goals or production, anything there. So that's just a nice little overview of,
And two
what to
points
charge and how much profit you need.
2 points on that. The
What's that?
SOP, like when you're looking at the SOPs, a lot of times like guys don't do that because you're doing everything yourself. Like when you're out in the field cutting grass, like you're not writing out your SOP because you're
Right.
the one doing it. So you always do it the same way. But it
Yeah.
changes everything once you have other people doing it. And a lot of times you just assume they're going to do it the way you do, but business
Right.
owners always do it differently than
Always.
someone that they're paying to do it.
Yeah, we do it as an owner. We tend to do things more meticulously and perfect. And
Our name's
guys,
on the wall. So we want to,
yeah,
we're being identified with it where they may not be.
yeah, and that's where a standard operating procedure can help you bridge that gap when you're performing an SOP. And we'll get into that as we go
Hmm.
through more and more of our master class and all that. But that's a great way to add what to do every step of the way so they don't miss things,
Yeah.
Or with tech automation, like House Call Pro, we use that. It has this really cool feature where you put in a checklist for your tech.
Yep.
So they're on a job site, boom, bullet points and checklist. They have to check off every step before that job can be completed and charged for. So
And sign off on it because if you're going back and like, why'd you check off that you checked the timer, you checked this, like you signed off on everything, you didn't do it.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and the customer says, hey, my lights aren't working or whatever.
Well, and I think that gets into like later, we're going to be talking about company culture and the importance of that. But that's, having employees that have that ownership mindset and how do you bring people all in together? Because it gets really expensive having crappy employees.
Big time. All right. Next, we got word of the day. What you got, Big Pat?
I was thinking, what is a 4-letter word that
Okay.
you want to have more of in your business in 2024?
Money. Oh, crap. That's not 4 letters. Beer. Can I have beer?
Beer's it? Yeah. There's a lot of Friday afternoons we've had the guys all come meet us and have a beer at the end of the day.
That's a nice culture building
Oh yeah.
technique. All right, so let's go with Cash. Johnny Cash, Moulin Rouge, and Robert De Niro. Oh,
Good
3 synonyms.
Yeah.
But yeah, cash. Cash is king. My dad always said cash is king. You got to have money in the bank.
Yep.
And you got to protect it because what if next month isn't as good as this month and you don't have any cash in your bank? Shit's going to hit the fan, man. You got to plan.
Well, you sell different too. Like I was told a long time ago, make sure that always act like you have $1 million in your bank account when you're meeting with a customer. Like, hey, I'm not going to retire getting this job. I'm not going to go broke if I get this job. I'd love to do this because I like what I do and this is going to be a fun project.
Right.
That attitude conveys to the customer. So you're not in this, bidding war and everything else. It's, I could walk away from the job at any time. Now, if you need to make payroll and you need to get that job, like that customer's got you. And that one comes
Man.
back to bite you where it's like, oh, I wish I never sold that because.
And I tell you, and we're going to cover this further as we keep going each week, but having a business plan in place where you can get a line of credit from your bank, or if you have awesome parents, et cetera, or relatives, you
Married
need,
well.
yeah, you need to have some kind of piggy bank in the background because, like Pat said, times are not always great, and we can't predict the future. Nobody can. So always have a nest egg, and if that's cash, protect your cash and keep a minimum amount always there, like a pool of water.
Yeah.
Don't let it evaporate ever.
And I think, a lot of times as business owners, we become the worst one about this. It's like, I'm working my ass off. I think I deserve a $130,000 truck. And, it's like,
Oh,
I'm going to go out to lunch all the time. You just, all of a sudden, you're just like putting all this out there. And
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to that too. You can be your own worst enemy.
Oh, usually we
That,
are. We
pull
are
'em-
almost always the weak point in our business.
I've been there, done that. I've been my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And like we said, we're so excited, guys. First episode, we can't wait to share information and gather information from you guys and build up this community of outdoorsy entrepreneurs. So that wraps up this episode. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Outdoorsy Entrepreneur, and hit those notifications because we're going to be here every Wednesday. Listen to wherever you get your podcast and follow us on our social media platforms at Outdoorsy Boss. Our online masterclass will launch this summer, and sign up for more details at outdoorsyentrepreneur.com. We are going to choose some winners to have a free course offering this spring. So check out that as we announce those entries, how you enter in future episodes. Level up your professionalism and reduce stress, baby, and workload for your business. No more paperwork. Check out House Call Pro, and Outdoorsy viewers receive a special introductory pricing by using our link down in the description below. Big thanks to all Outdoorsy supporters as we fuel our success one adventure at a time. And just as Aerosmith wanted, you don't want to miss a thing. So refuel with us on our podcast every Wednesday. See you guys.
See ya.
All aboard!